When I haven't come on, does it just let you comment? Yeah, got you first, dude. How are we? Ah, Warwick, she beat ya. She beat ya. How are we? How are we on this Thursday? Can you believe how quick this week's gone? Oh, do you know, I thought I had something on my head and it's the camera. So, how are we all? Got any plans for the weekend? What are we doing? If you're watching tomorrow, I'm not going crazy. It is a live. I'm not talking to myself, she says. But if you are watching tomorrow, why aren't you here? Join this bunch here. They're a great bunch. I do lives on a Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock. If you'd like to join, or if you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/Jess Rose 5472. But other than that, here we are. How are we all? Hey Phil, how you doing? It's Jess Rose Thursday. How are we? Got my plaque in the background again. I'm so vain. There it is, just sat there looking all pretty. How are we? I know Phil knows his story. Hey Sharon, I haven't seen you in a little while. How are you? How you been doing? Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I know Phil knows his story because I hadn't realised that our idol, Miss Emma Kenny herself. Hi Natalie, how we going? Oh, you're all here. Yeah, she'd done it about 7 months ago, and I hadn't realised, but it was a documentary I saw, and oh my God, I hope you're prepared for this one. Hope you're all prepared for this one tonight, because it's just horrific. It's just awful, awful, awful. So, has anyone else heard of it? I know, like I say, I know Phil has. Does anyone else know this one? Oh, yeah, I'm getting all hot again. The elbow, check the elbow. It's still going. It's just getting bigger. How are we? I'll be listening and trying to sort my studio. Ooh, okay. That's exciting stuff. That's okay. You can listen. I ramble. Do you know one thing I will say? There's a lot of names tonight. So I'm going to try and tell you all the characters, I suppose you could say. And then we're going to reduce it down to just the main ones within the story, but there's still a lot of them. Oh, I bet it is, Sharon. I bet it is. I'll take it easy. Oh no, Natalie, I was just saying just before you came in, I think Phil told me today he'd seen it on Emma's channel. I was like, oh no, I wanted to find one that you hadn't heard of. I hadn't realised. And then I checked, and yes, she beat me to it like 7 months ago. But I must have missed it. I don't know how I missed it. And yeah, I just happened to. It was actually another creator I saw had done this story. And I was like, ooh, what's this one? And then stalking their comments as I do, I noticed that there had been a documentary done on it. So, of course, I've got to watch that, haven't I? So, yeah, and then disappeared down a rabbit hole, realised that's the one I wanted to do for you all. And yeah, and then realised our idol had already done it. So, but it's okay if you don't mind sticking around and seeing mine. Although, to be honest, I had gone over obviously Emma's to see if there was anything I'd miss, because she's so thorough. Or if I could add anything to it, but she's that thorough that there was nothing new that a couple of little bits and bobs, but I don't think it's that she didn't know. She might just not have included them, so I'm going to include them tonight. Hi, Hayley. How you doing? How's it going? I didn't see you the other night. Oh, now that you're here, Hayley, I did mean to say it the other night. Can I just thank you for joining my Patreon last week? It was so appreciated. It really is. So appreciated. The other night, I was waiting for you to come in so I could go, thank you so much. Thank you. So, yes, very, very appreciative of that. Thank you. Oh, bless you. No, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. None of you on my live. Oh, I'm doing it again. I'm thinking I'm just talking to you. Ah, thanks, Phil. No, that's lovely. That's lovely. And I love that you're sticking around. About everyone is different. I know, I gotta admit, when I realised Phil had heard of it, I was like, oh, do I still do it? Do I still not that you'd heard of it, it was that it's Emma Kenny, guys. What more can I add? But I just thought, no, it's a really, oh, it's just a heartbreaking story. And yeah, I felt I had to do it, although I do like to bring, I was really shocked at just how many people did know about it because I'd never heard it. Had I heard about it? Do you know what it was? I kept on seeing the woman's face. The woman. We're just going to call her the woman. No, I'll tell you her name soon. But yeah, I kept on seeing her and I was just like, ew. That's the reaction. That's the reaction to this moment. It's just, oh, no. You might think I'm being very judgmental, but wait until I tell you what she did. And then you'll all be going, ooh, at the same time. Obviously, like any of the others, if you want to go away afterwards, have a look at the photos of the people I'm talking about. You'll see exactly why my reaction is the way it is. But Natalie, there's so many, and Gemma Haters was the first one I'd come across, believe it or not, and it was the first disability mate crime that I did on the channel. But like I say, it was also the first one I came across, and since then there are so many. It's just heartbreaking. Oh, Phil, thank you. Ooh. I'm very flattered that I'm in the same sentence. I'm very flattered. Nowhere near where she is. She's just amazing, isn't she? She's just amazing. But thank you. I'll take it. But yeah. Oh, Tiff, thank you. That's really sweet. No, it's just when I watch her, I'm just in awe because she just holds a story so well. She's excellent. But if you're all happy for me to tell it all again, we'll start. We'll start. And yes, it is yet another disability mate crime. I have done so many now, and it still baffles me. It still baffles me. Just like children, the elderly, animals. It's I'm not comparing them all, but I'm just saying they come across the most vulnerable. They're just the most vulnerable of a society, and it's just so sad. Lady Love, absolutely, Warwick. That's what you're witnessing. That's what you're witnessing. She is my idol. Can't help it. But yeah, it's yeah, it's just very sad that there's so many of these, and it's always by their so-called friends. It's so frustrating. I think since I've been doing the live, haven't I done 2 before now? On the lives themselves, let alone all the pre-recorded videos I did. There's just I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's just so upsetting that these and they're always the sweetest people in the world. They're always the kindest people in the world, most thoughtful. And they always end up meeting the dregs of the earth. Always, every time, just come across the just bottom of the barrel. Just sorry, I'm gonna start getting on my soapbox again now. Let me begin and you'll see where my anger's coming from. Okay, so the Vera, it's the cruel Vera Jo Reigle story. Okay. So we're going to begin with Vera. Now, like I said at the beginning, there are a lot of names in this story, an awful lot. And I'm going to try and condense it as best as possible so and make it as easy to follow as I possibly can. It's really hard on a live, but then again, I never used to edit my videos anyway. I don't, but I never put photos in my videos or pictures. And I know sometimes it's easy, especially in cases like this, it's easier to follow along with pictures. So what I'm going to do is my best to describe the people I'm talking about as best as I can, and go from there. So like I say, Vera, now, oh bless her, oh bless this girl, okay. Now, Vera, bear with me a second. What have I done? I am. Oh, well, this is a good start, isn't it? This is an excellent start. Normally, completely in order. That was fabulous, wasn't it? What a great way to start. Okay, we'll go again. Okay. Vera, born on the 11th of July, 1986 in Findlay, Ohio. Her dad is Willard Reigle. Mum, Verna Garner. Okay. Ashley is Vera's sister, and they were just best friends. Very, very close growing up. Very, very close. Now, Vera herself, what I've heard about this girl, she was just really kind, very sweet. Loved country music, loved singing it, loved dancing to it. Just love to help others, love dressing up, jewelry, all that kind of stuff. Just a really sweet girl. Now, with Vera, she was mentally challenged. She had a mental disability. And basically it was said that she had the mum's Verna, daughter's Vera. So the girl I'm talking about is Vera. So she had the mental age once she reached adulthood of between 8 and 12 years old. So that's where we're going with it. She also had ADHD, some other problems. So yeah, it's just very unfortunate. And the reason I say that is Willard, dad of the century here, he began physically and sexually abusing Vera and her sister Ashley from a really young age. And once Vera got to about 11, that it progressed from molesting into outright sexual assault. Just a vile human being. He didn't get away with it. He did go, it was reported, he went to prison for 20 years. But Verna, Vera's mom, Vera and Ashley's mom, she must have just had like a beacon for these just pedophiles, but just bottom of the barrel men. She meets a boyfriend who, unfortunately, joins the family, moves in, and starts abusing Vera right where her dad left off. Just heartbreaking. And it was said, due to this happening and obviously not being able to trust men up to this point at all, it said that unlike some kids in that situation who perhaps might have turned against her mum. Now, her mum didn't know. It was reported as soon as she found out. She was just obviously crap at picking men. She didn't turn against her mum, but she just, it was said that she started to internalize her feelings, like she would keep her emotions very under check. You know, she never let anything out, which is very, very sad. Now, eventually, Vera and Ashley's mom goes on to meet a man called Lynn Messersmith, who ended up adopting the girls, which was lovely, and they began to become a lovely family unit. Now, I've got Vera's name as Reigle, obviously after the dad. Now, it's said that obviously Lynn Messersmith, the guy, I know his name's Lynn. It said Lynn. Maybe that's a male name as well. I don't know. I don't know. I'd never heard of it being a male name. But anyway, his surname was Messersmith. Now, although he adopted the girls, and in the documentary I've watched, Ashley, Vera's sister, underneath her name, it does say Messersmith, the surname, but everywhere I've looked, Vera's name was still Reigle, so I'm not too sure why her name didn't switch over. I'm not too sure about that, but just to let you know, that's how that's happened. Okay, so right then we get to 2005, and she comes along so much that she manages to basically graduate high school, and she gets a high school diploma, which for Vera was just an amazing accomplishment. It really was. And everything looked like it was on the up and up. It genuinely did. And yeah, I say it most times. It's not that channel, is it? I wish it was, but it's not. And Vera comes back into contact with a lady by the name of Sherry Brooks. Okay. Ashley, I do. I've written it down. It's called, sorry everyone. I'm not meaning to interrupt. I just noticed that at the corner of my eye. If you do want to watch the documentary, it's called Goodbye Sugar Babe. That's what it's called, Goodbye Sugar Babe. It's about an hour and a half long. Really good, really good. So, but stick around with us, Ashley. Stick around here first, and then go and watch it. Stay with us, though. Okay, now, like I say, she comes into contact, Vera does, with Sherry Brooks. And you might be wondering, who's Sherry Brooks? Okay, now, remember what I've said, the characters I've said. Now, Verna, Vera's mom, Lynn, the new dad, and Ashley, won't talk much about them after this. Okay, so the only name really you need to take in is Vera. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, oh God, Sherry Brooks. All right, okay. Now, Sherry Brooks, let me just start about her. Oh, Sherry Brooks was born on November 3rd, 1962. All right. She was born to a woman called Charlotte Bixel and a dad called Charlie, called Big Chuck. You say, why I'm reacting like that? Now, Big Chuck, unfortunately, from a very young age, very similar to Vera's story, took a liking to Sherry. Took a real liking to Sherry. He was very abusive, sexually, physically, to all his kids. There was 4 of them. Sherry actually had 3 siblings. And when she was 3 years of age, she was taken away. They all were. They were all taken off them. Okay? So basically, Sherry from that point bounced from foster home to foster home. She was, rather than seeing it, because she was taken at 3 years of age, you see. So whereas Vera would have been very aware of what her biological dad had done, Sherry not so much. She was only 3. She was very young. And so growing up in foster care and knowing that she'd been taken from her biological family, she became very, very resentful, really resentful of the social services of the foster families she was put into. Became really, really resentful. Okay. To the point where when she turned 16, she left the foster home she was in and she returned home, right? Now, at that point, Charlotte was in the process of divorcing Big Chuck. I can't help doing that every time. She was actually in the process, but he was still living in the home when Sherry came back. Now, 16-year-old Sherry comes back into the house and immediately becomes in awe of this man and just looks up to him, becomes quite infatuated with him in an innocent way, let me say that. But Big Chuck, yeah, he basically picked up where he left off with 3-year-old Sherry to 16-year-old Sherry and started abusing her again. Just this story, every part of it is it just appears to be the most depraved human beings imaginable. Now, you might have heard me saying sugar babe earlier on. Well, that was actually the nickname that Big Chuck gave to his daughter, Sherry. Sugar babe. When you think about it, that's his daughter who he's abusing, who he abused from a very, very small baby till she was 3. Continues when she comes home wanting this love and back to her biological family, and he just takes advantage again, and that's why he called her sugar babe. Now, you might be all thinking, really? Okay, I'm going to sound really brutal now, all right? You might be thinking, oh my God, so sorry for this girl. And yes, and you're well within your rights to feel sorry for her. It won't last long, I promise. Those emotions are going to go really quickly, okay? Because Sherry, all right, when she turned 19, this isn't why, I'm not saying this is why, but you're going to see why I've reacted that way. When she turns 19, she starts a relationship with her first cousin, so her mum's sister's son. Okay, I know it goes on, not a problem with it. We know it can have an effect on future children that they have, but Sherry was very proud of it. Apparently the family were really happy about it as well, and they were known as the kissing cousins around the time, which is really bizarre. But in 1981, Danny and Sherry have a little boy called Scotty. All right. Now, Sherry, oh, it's just awful. Sherry wasn't exactly what you call a housewife, or any of us for the most part, but she lived in utter filth. Okay, this poor baby was brought back to utter filth and depravity, because very early on, Sherry started abusing her little baby, Scotty, really early on. I'm saying a couple of months old. She started abusing her little baby. So eventually social services get involved, and Scotty is taken away from Danny. Danny didn't really care, but taken away from Danny and Sherry and given, believe it or not, to Charlotte, Sherry's mum. Okay, so he's been given to his grandmother. His granddad, she's divorced him, so he's not on the scene, Big Chuck, yet. He comes back, but at that moment, Scotty goes to live with Charlotte. So that's Scotty, okay? Just want to give you a heads up. This woman ends up having 9 children. So I'm going to work through them. Remember, I said there's a lot of names. So please try and stay with me. Okay, so then we get to 1983. Sherry has now met and married a man called Mike Maloney. Okay, and she goes on to have another little boy called Joshua. Well, Sherry was offered, I don't think it's, and obviously here we've got, you can get like Sure Start vouchers, for baby food, things like that. In America, it's not so readily available, especially at that time. But she was offered those services. But Sherry, notice I haven't said much about her. Sherry, yeah. Have any of you watched The Hills Have Eyes? Just saying. Okay? This is Sherry. And I mean The Hills Have Eyes, the first one. Right? And do you remember in the first one, they're kind of a family, aren't they? Keep that in mind. Keep that analogy in mind. Okay. So Sherry has little baby Joshua. Like I say, she doesn't, Sherry's very lazy, really lazy. Lives in, the trailer they were living in was just disgusting, absolutely vile, right? So, and she's so lazy, she doesn't go to the social services to get the said vouchers for the baby milk. So do you know what she does with her newborn little boy Joshua? She gives him cow's milk. So of course he's getting a oh, we're going dark. Similar, Warwick, similar. Yeah, gives him cow's milk and starts making him really quite poorly. She's not happy about that. She's not happy just doing that, should I say. Now, Mike himself, you might be like, well, what about the dad? What about the dad here? Well, the dad, when little Joshua was 3 months old, because Joshua was crying because his mum was giving him cow's milk and he was getting poorly, his dad just walks up with an open hand and slaps him straight round the face. The child's 12 weeks old. Of course, social services come in again. Luckily, take little Joshua out. The reason we know about that is that it actually happened in front of a witness. So they weren't ashamed of what they were doing. This witness reported what she'd seen. Social services come in, take Joshua. Now, Joshua, he ends up getting adopted and his name changed. So that's Joshua. Okay. We then get to 1985. She then goes on to have a little boy called Michael. Right? Again, little Michael. He's removed because of abuse and neglect. He's removed. Now, Sherry, what Sherry actually really wanted, even though she'd had these 3 boys, she wanted a little girl. That's what she wanted. And in 1986, she has this little girl that she'd apparently always wanted. Okay, little Maria. Now, it was said that she was completely different with Maria, completely different. She cleaned the house up, she cleaned herself up. Maria was apparently very clean, very well fed, nicely dressed. Said she really made an effort with little Maria, but it bordered on obsessive with this little girl. She wouldn't let anyone near this baby. Nobody, no one could get near this child. And it just right down to Charlotte, the grandmother. Mike, not that he really cared one way or the other, but couldn't get near her until, unfortunately, when Maria was about 12 months old, Sherry was changing her nappy. And there was family around and stuff. And there was blood all in her nappy. And she was bleeding from her genitals. Little Maria, she was 1. But guess who was back on the scene at this point? Big Chuck. Big Chuck's back on the scene, and he's sniffing back around his daughter. No, we don't know. When Sherry took little Maria to the hospital, Mike went with her, and so we don't know why did Big Chuck. All three of them took little Maria to the hospital. Doctors straight away called the police. There's something really bad going on here. And Maria, thank goodness, was taken off them. They don't know which one abused this child, but it could have been any one of them. And I'll tell you why. Because remember I says there was a family member who had seen little Joshua getting slapped. Well, apparently at some point it hasn't said which little boy it was. But when one of the family members walked in to the trailer earlier on, before Maria this was, Sherry was bathing her little son. You might think, oh God, well, okay, at least she did that. When the family member walked in, Sherry actually had him held up in her arms, and his little pee-pee was in her mouth. I can't put it any more polite than that. So it wasn't just the men in Sherry's life that were abusing her children sexually and physically. It was her. So with regards to little Maria, we don't know which one of the three were to blame for what happened to this little girl. What we do know, though, is that Sherry never left this child alone. Remember, I said it bordered on obsessive. So I think it's safe to say that even if it wasn't her that actually did it to Maria, well, she certainly would have been there when it happened. Heartbreaking. We get to 1987. I've obviously said that Maria got taken off. I've said that. Now, we get to 1987. She goes on to have another little girl, little Sherry. She apparently started off okay, same as Maria. Doesn't last long. Little Sherry starts being abused, and he's also taken away. One thing about little Maria, what they tried to do is before the police actually came round to get her, because Sherry knew she was about to lose this little girl, she actually called her mum. Do you remember Charlotte, who couldn't get anywhere near this child because Sherry was so obsessive? Yeah, she goes, give me Scotty back just for the night, and you have Maria. She's trying to hide her. Didn't work. They found Maria. Gone. So at this point, all 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, have been removed from Sherry. Okay? This is what I was saying about. I was saying about this woman. I was saying. Okay? So we get to 1991. All right? She meets a man called Kevin Lee Brooks. Now, Kevin, for the most part, was actually a very easygoing man, apparently. Not easygoing enough for Sherry. I mean, too easygoing for Sherry, should I say. So I'm going to go very in quick succession now, because these next 4 children, 4 children, are born in quick succession, and she keeps all 4 boys, okay? In 91, Kevin Jr. is born, nicknamed Punky. In 92, Zachary's born. 93, Garth's born. And in 97, Chucky's born. The names are great. But she's obviously running out of names. But so they're all in quick succession. And she keeps these boys, apparently thanks to Kevin. And thanks to him keeping things okay. Apparently the house was a hole still. They're out of the trailer. They're in a house. You can see the house if you look online. Apparently it was abysmal. A lot of animals in the house. They had a pig. They had a pet pig that would just go to the toilet all around the house and was kept in a cupboard. Dogs, cats, just rancid this home was. Somehow, after having 5 children taken off her for sexual, physical abuse, neglect, she's allowed to go on and have 4 more and keep them. So, you could think, well, did these 4 make it? Ugh, not really. Not really. So, Punky, first little boy. As he's growing up, he becomes quite violent. Announces he's part of a gang, which is the Crips, which we know you have Bloods and Crips in America. Reckons he was part of a fraction of the Crips. We don't know if that's true. Apparently, it's said that he was, but there's also questions over it. But it was said that he was quite feisty, and because Kevin was a pushover, the dad, Punky actually ran that house. Even Sherry was scared of him. And this woman didn't appear to be scared of anyone, but she was scared of her son. What he said went. Okay. Zachary, next child down, he had learning difficulties. And then you had Garth and you had Chucky. Right. Now, we are going to now join the two together, and we're going to talk about Vera and how Vera made the unfortunate, oh, just awful, what can I say? I'm losing the words. I need just unfortunate. I've said unfortunate, I haven't. She met this woman. Anyway, let me explain how. Now, do you remember I said when Maria was born to Sherry? Well, they'd been living in a trailer, and in the next trailer actually lived Verna Willard with little baby Vera and Ashley. Vera, who was born in 1986, would have been exactly the same age as Maria, who was also born in 1986. And that's how Sherry had met Verna, Vera's mum. Now, when she lost Maria, her focus, for some reason, went after little Vera. She was obsessed with baby girls. And Verna was okay with it at first. She knew she'd lost her daughter, didn't really know all the ins and outs, and, Sherry had offered to babysit and stuff like that. But eventually she started becoming quite obsessive over little Vera. And Vera's mum was just like, look, no, enough now. So they kind of parted company. And then Sherry went on to have her other children. But they all lived in the same town. Okay. So Vera ended up, now remember I said mentally she was around the 8 to 12 mark? She ends up making very good friends with Zachary. Now, Zachary also had some problems himself, although he was kind of taking after Punky a little bit. He was kind of getting into trouble. He was getting into fights. And at this point, he's 13 years of age. And Vera, at this point in the story I'm talking about, is nearly 19. Okay. But Sherry was determined. She wanted this little girl. Now, she knew she couldn't have any more children. She knew she couldn't have any more. She'd had 9. She was past the age. So in her mind, she was like, right, my boys are having kids and I'm getting my little girl one way or the other. One way or the other, I'm getting a little girl. So knowing Vera was, quite innocent, easily led, she encouraged this relationship between Zachary and Vera. She encouraged it quite a lot, which would be surprising considering Zachary's 13, would you not think? No. She wanted this to happen. So we get to 2005. Vera's 19, Zachary's 13. They begin seeing each other. Just awful. So then Sherry's like, why don't you move in with us, Vera? Why don't you just come and live with us? Now, at this point, Sherry had come across like a really kind, lovely woman. It seemed like she really cared for Vera. So Vera's like, okay. And she'd really kind of fell for Zachary as well. Now, you might think 1913, but I've already explained how that would come about. So Vera moves in. She moves into Sherry's. And, yeah. Okay. Very soon after Vera moving into the home, that nicety that Sherry had been, those niceties that Sherry had been putting on, they start to wear thin. She starts to show her real self. Because we know that Sherry, she's abusive, she's a paedophile, she's vile, she lives in a hole, she's not a good person. And Vera starts to realise that quite quickly. But given the fact that Vera is, remember I said after what had happened to her, she was keeping her emotions quite deep down. She was a people pleaser. She just wanted to help the family. So quite quickly, she was being used to cook. She was being used to clean. Sherry, like I say, Hills Have Eyes lady, big lady, big lady. I'm not fat shaming, but if I get accused of that, but she's a big woman. None of these have got teeth in the head. I think she's got 2. Okay. So because she's quite a bigger lady and she's now using a wheelchair, her feet have swelled up. She's got diabetes. Her feet have swelled up. They're for the most part bandaged. So Vera has the excellent, enviable job. Gotta butcher that. Of doing Sherry's feet and cleaning them and rebandaging them. Isn't that lovely? Sickening. Also, because obviously, like we say, Vera, she is mentally, she's got a mental disability. She receives disability checks. They're taken. They're gone. They go to Sherry and the boys. They don't go to Vera anymore. She doesn't see her money anymore. And yeah, this bad treatment it just happened really, really quickly. They didn't even try and disguise it in any way. There was no kind of, let's just get her in here first. No. It all happened really quick. They took her phone off her so she couldn't contact her parents. She couldn't speak to anybody. They'd all began beating her by now, all of them. And like I say, she had to clean this filthy hole of a house. But not only that, do you want to know where she was made to sleep a lot of the time? Remember I said the pig? For the most part, was kept in a cupboard? Yeah, that's where she was sleeping too. Just vile. But we come to March 2009. Okay. And Vera, who's now 22, Zach is now 16, she gets pregnant. Everything Sherry wanted, Sherry's like, she turned around to Zachary going, this better be a girl. As it happened, they have the ultrasound and they're having a little girl. Not that Zachary's 16 years old. He's been pushed into this by his mum. He's looking at other girls by this point. He's not really interested in Vera anymore. He's got past it. Vera, for the most part, is quite jealous. She's pregnant. She's quite jealous. So Zachary's kind of getting a little bit resentful of this girl living in his house. Now she's pregnant with his child. He's hating on her. All the rest haven't really got a lot of time for her. So, yeah. So Sherry, though, decides this is her baby. From the second she becomes pregnant, so I've heard different ones. It was either from the second she became pregnant or from the second they found out she was having a little girl. But Sherry was like, that's my baby. She wasn't joking. She wasn't bantering. It wasn't like, oh, that's mine too. No, that's my baby. And she would watch everything Vera was eating. She was watching everything she was doing. She wasn't allowed out of her sight. And then Sherry comes up with the bright idea that I want this baby to be born on my birthday. Now, the little baby was due in December. Now, if you remember, I says that Sherry's birthday was on November the 3rd. So do you want to know what she comes up? She comes up with a great plan. She comes up with a great plan to bring this baby in time for her birthday. Just a narcissist to the end. She castor oil. Now we know by wives' tale, take a bit of castor oil, bring on the labour. Do you want to know what she made this poor girl drink in orange juice? 3 bottles. 3 bottles of castor oil. The baby wasn't due for another month. A month. Well, it did what was intended, but she didn't actually come on November 3rd. She actually came on November the 4th, the day after, over a month early. November 4th, 2009. And Sherry has called her, named her. They didn't even get to name her. Named her Willardine. Okay. Like I say, it was the day after Sherry's birthday. And from the second, Vera brought little Willardine home, she wasn't allowed to go near her. She was in the house. She wasn't allowed to leave. She was there to, clean, cook, do Sherry's feet. She was there to take slaps off every member of the family, but she couldn't go near her own daughter. She couldn't go near her. She couldn't touch her. She couldn't play with her. Just heartbreaking. Think of this girl who was abused by her dad, abused by her stepdad, finally looked like she was getting a chance at a good life, and then this happens. Okay, so like I say, I wouldn't let her near her. She still had to do all the chores. Now, Michael, right? Now, we know that there are four boys at home. Remember? We've got Punky, Zachary, Garth, Chucky. Michael, who was taken off Sherry when he was a baby, and also Scotty, who'd been taken to the grandmother. Okay, they stayed in contact with their mum. Joshua, Maria, little Sherry, we don't hear about them again. We don't talk about them again. But Scotty and Michael, she convinces to come back home, come and live with your brothers. We're going to be a big, happy family. So now, in that house, I'm just going to recap. We have Sherry and her sap of a husband, Kevin. Was it Kevin? I can't even remember. Is it Kevin? And then we have Punky, Zachary, Garth, Chucky, and then from Danny and Mike, we have who were the dads of Scotty and Michael. So they come home. Now, even though they're older than Punky, Punky still rules that house. He rules that house right up until August the 5th, 2010. When unfortunately, when he was out with his girlfriend, Heather, it was an accident. He stepped out in front of a car. He got hit. He was killed outright. Now, Sherry was beside herself over this. Absolutely beside herself. Devastated over this fact. He was, even though she loved having little girls, he was the apple of her eye. And, yeah, all of them were, all the boys looked up to him. Like I say, he kept the house on an even keel, and he passed. And Sherry, just, even though there was no proof that his girlfriend Heather had anything to do with it, she told the entire family that, yeah, it was Heather. Heather did it. She pushed him in front of the car, got Heather a terrible hiding when it had nothing to do with her. Okay, so that's where we are. So now in the house, I'll recap one more time. We've got Sherry, Kevin, and then the boys, Zachary, Garth, Chucky, and then we've got Scotty and Michael who've returned home. And then also then we've got Vera and hers and Zachary's baby, Willardy. They're all living in this home. It's disgusting. Apparently he couldn't even walk on the floor. He couldn't sit anywhere. It was just vile. It was a hole. It was terrible. And they all looked like, you could tell they all came from there as well. Just awful. Okay, so that's where we are. So, like I say, Michael had moved back. He's 24 by this point. He brings his girlfriend, Shannon. Okay, remember her name, Shannon. She moves back in. Garth, who's 16 at this point, moves his girlfriend, Gina, in. Sherry thinks it's Christmas. She's like, oh, all my boys are going to get their girls pregnant and they're all going to have girls and I'm going to take these children and these little girls are all going to be mine. This is how she was thinking. She was trying to encourage all her boys to impregnate their girlfriends. That's how her mind was working. I'm sure she'd have worked on Chucky had he been a little bit older. But at this point, he was still quite young. So this is what's going on. Gina herself, Garth's obviously 16. Gina, his little girlfriend's only 15. She does get pregnant. She does have a miscarriage. She leaves and she goes home. Finishes with Garth, gets away from the family. So she's gone. Okay. So the only girlfriends that are in the house now is Vera and Shannon. Oh, they're the only girlfriends in. Shannon, oh, she takes great pleasure of making Vera's life hell too. She's very involved in it too. Bigger girl. And just, yeah, the minute Michael and Scotty, not so much. Michael doesn't really agree with what they're doing to Vera, doesn't really agree that she can't have any contact with a little girl, especially with them in the same house. But none of them do anything. None of them help her. Kevin, no good. No, just a complete waste of space from what I've heard. Okay, so Sherry herself, she's obviously very controlling with Vera. You might be wondering, why didn't Vera leave? Why is she there? She can't have any contact with this little girl. Why doesn't she just leave and try and get some help? Well, one, she was very, very scared. She was very scared of this family. And plus, Sherry had told her, if you walk out, I'm going to hurt Willardy. I'm going to hurt your little girl. So through love of her child, something that Sherry would know nothing about, Vera stayed. She stayed. She wouldn't leave little Willardy. She wouldn't leave her. So we get to September the 13th, 2010. Ashley, okay, you might remember her name from the beginning, which is Vera's sister. She reports that the Brooks family to the police for the mistreatment of Vera. She'd heard about what had been going on. She knew that Vera had had a child, so she reports this to the police. The report never got filed because this family, not only had Punky been a member of this fraction of the Crips. I don't know, do you say the Crip gang or the gangs of the Crips? I'm not too sure. But it was said that Zachary was part of them as well. The police were always coming and going. They used to hide Vera because she'd be black and blue from the slap she was getting left, right and centre by these people. So the police were used to going. So when they heard about this, because Vera was a grown woman, unless she reported this herself, there was nothing they could do. So, and when they would come out, Vera would lie to the police, say, nothing's happening, she fell over, etc. Okay, there was another episode that when Vera was outside helping Sherry clean the rabbit hutch, which is surprising that was getting cleaned. There was a tarp over the rabbit hutch. when Vera went to pull the tarp down, there was bricks that had been placed on the rabbit hutch. And when this was pulled down, the bricks landed on Sherry's foot. Of course, that was Vera's fault. It wasn't an accident. Now, Vera was so apologetic. It was who she was as a person. But Sherry just thought, oh, this is a good excuse as any. I'm gonna get a kick out of this, and tells all her boys, look what she did to me, and she didn't even apologize. Vera gets another hiding. Okay. By this point, they're now starving Vera. They're now starving her. And they get to a point, well, Sherry does, where she's thinking, we don't actually need this girl anymore. But we can't let her leave, because if we let her leave, she'll try and take Willoughby. So we're going to have to come up with something, can't we? This is how our mind's working. So they all start talking, how do we get rid of her? All of them. Scotty, he'd hear it going on, didn't want too much part of it. Michael, but his Mrs. Shannon, oh, she's there. She wants to be involved in the family. The rest of the lads, even Chucky, they're all sort of coming up with ideas of what they can do to her and so the idea they came up with was stick her on the train tracks, which are just up the road from them, put her over them, and just let the train go over her. The idea came from because a family member of theirs had been prattling about on a skateboard, had tried to jump the tracks, and a train had hit him. Okay. And the saying that they like to use when referring to this family member was, he looked like hamburger meat. Hamburger meat. That's how they spoke about their family member after he's just been destroyed by a train. So that's where the train tracks came from. So Cher at this point is now inciting the entire family against Vera, just really building this up. And then enter Danny Bixel. Now, if you remember, and I know there's been a lot of names, I know there has. The only reason I've been able to follow it myself is because I've been researching this story for quite a while. So I know it's a lot, but if you remember, it was the cousin. Remember the kissing cousins? Well, remember Scotty was the son from Daniel and Sherry. Well, when they broke up, Scotty was taken away and Sherry moved on to Mike Maloney. Daniel went on to have another relationship himself, and he had a son and called him Daniel Jr. They love to name their kids after each other, don't they? After themselves, sorry. Narcissism. Oh, it's a boiling point on this one. It's a boiling point with this family. So when I say enter Danny Bixel would technically be Sherry and her boys' cousins. They'd be cousins. He'd just come back out of jail, and he'd got out. He'd met a new girl called Nicole. And when Nicole decided she wanted to have a go on a swing, all of this I'm not going off. It will all make sense. Nicole wanted to go on a swing. Okay. She was quite young. She wants to go on a swing. There's a teenager on there who refuses to get off. Danny just decides, who's also a member of the Crips gang, decides to just beat the living daylights out of this teenager who's on the swing, who refused to let his girlfriend go on there because his girlfriend had to play on the swing. So they do a runner to Cousin Sherry's house. Let's go. So now we've also got Danny and Nicole who've moved in. Okay. We come up to March 20th, 2011. Okay. Vera's now been living with this grotesque, vile, despicable family for 5 years. Now, this is how long she's been living with them. And while as because Danny's moved in now, him and Zach get very close. Now Zach at this point, he's done with Vera. She's nothing to him. And Vera, for the most part, just keeps herself hidden away from everybody. She knows she can't leave the house. Every time they see her, they're beating her. She's getting punched, she's getting kicked, her nose is getting broken. She's just a punch bag for the family and a skivvy. She's just made to clean the house. She's got no life, and she just keeps herself in her bedroom. I mean, she's put in a cupboard sometimes, in a bedroom. They're not really feeding her at this point. So this is what's happening when Danny moves in. Now, Danny looked up to his older cousin, Punky. Remember Punky, who'd been hit by a car? It was just an awful accident. And Sherry's like, ding, 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 ding. She goes to Danny, she goes, oh, do you know who killed Punky? Let me tell you who really killed him. And remember, she blamed Heather, hadn't she? She said Heather had pushed her son out, a golden boy. No, now she says it was Vera. Vera killed him. She pushed him in front of that car. Just a manipulative cow. So because he looked up to him so much, Danny starts, oh, he's out for Vera now. He's got a real hatred for Vera now. And also, Shannon at this point had claimed she was pregnant. Now there's bits and bobs. You can look at the documentary, you can look at online, you can look at newspaper clippings. Some say that she said she was pregnant, some say that she wasn't. But pepper spray was released in the house. Okay. Shannon goes to the hospital and claims she's had a miscarriage. But there's people around saying she was never pregnant. But who gets the blame? Vera. They say Vera let off this pepper spray. She didn't. She had nothing to do with that. And there's nothing to even say that Shannon was pregnant in the first place. But, oh, here we go. It's a no deal between Punky and then this pepper spray incident. Danny doesn't need anymore. Danny and his Mrs. Nicole, who's also not quite right, they don't need another excuse. Let's go. So on March 25th, 2011, they begin an entire day of torturing, absolutely torturing this poor girl. It starts with Danny stabbing her in her leg. Okay. So he stabs her in her leg, and Sherry, seeing that it's a gaping wound, puts her finger in it up to the knuckle, right into her leg. Okay. And then starts putting, cotton buds into it just to see what had happened into the wound. It obviously doesn't stop there. It just progresses on. It just escalates from there. She was beaten all day. They got a lock, a big lock, and it was said that it was put into like a sock and swung round. She was beaten around the face over and over again. Oh God. Are you ready? Just letting you all know. They got a toothbrush, which was inserted anally. Then they made her brush her teeth with said toothbrush. A toilet plunger, they inserted that anally into her in front of the whole family. Oh, this was in front of everyone. So not only the pain and the just utter pain and distress she'd have been in, she was humiliated in front of this whole family while they're all just there laughing at what's going on. Nicole, the sadist that she is, all of this was really getting Nicole going. So halfway through the day, she gets Danny and takes him into the bedroom so they can you know, get it out of the system. And then they come back to continue torturing this poor girl. She said she was hungry, so they made her eat the dog feces from out the garden. They found a pole, inserted that into her. Like I say, she was just beaten mercilessly all day long. And they were all getting absolute kicks out of this. They were. It was said that they broke every bone in this girl's face. Every bone in her face. Absolute animals. We come up to March the 26th, 2011. Now, the police actually turn up at the house because there'd been a street brawl outside. And what they do, they hide Vera because she can't even walk at this point. She can't even walk. She's struggling to speak. Like I say, she's just been starved. They hide her in Scotty's room. Scotty, for the most part, he didn't take part in any of it. He felt very sorry for Vera, but he didn't stop it. He didn't stop what was going on. So with regards to this street brawl with the brothers, completely separate to Vera, the police had come, but the police were used to coming. But Danny had been involved and Zach had been involved. So Danny, Zach and Nicole, they were runner up the road. They came back the way of the train tracks, and at that point they were like, yeah, this is where we're bringing her later. This is what we're going to do. Don't forget, Danny still believes she murdered his cousin. So Danny, Zach and Nicole, when they come back, tell Vera to put her shoes on. Now, remember, she hasn't been allowed to leave that house. She hasn't been allowed to leave the house in I don't know if it's gotten to years at this point, but certainly weeks and months. And she knows. She just knows. She knows they're going to do something to her. She knows it's going to be bad, so she starts crying. And she's like, why? Why do you want me to put my shoes on? They're like, just get your shoes on now. So she has to go upstairs. And her shoes are actually in with Scotty. Remember I said that's where they'd hidden her. And she begs him. She says, please come with us. They might not hurt me if you're there. So Scotty goes to leave with them. But Zach stops him. Zach stops him leaving. But guess who stopped Zach leaving? Sherry. This has all been a plan all along. So the only people to actually leave the house is Danny, Nicole, and Vera. They're the only ones to actually leave the house that evening. And when they get to the train tracks, she's obviously absolutely terrified. It's freezing. It's minus degrees out there. And as Vera was leaving the house, should I say, which is where the documentary got its name from, I believe, she was begging Shannon, don't make me go, like I don't want to go. And then eventually she looks at Sherry and she goes, good night, sugar babe. Just absolutely heartbreaking. Like I say, they walked while she limped all the way to the train tracks. So every bone in her face broke and this girl could hardly walk. And when they get there, Danny pulls out a knife. Happens to be quite a dull knife. It was a big kitchen knife. I've seen it. He took it from the block, the wooden block. But it's quite dull at the end. So eventually he tries to cut her head off. That's what this animal actually tries to do. But because the knife's so dull, he ends up sawing this girl from ear to ear. But it can't go through because of how dull the knife was. They were trying to stab her on her body, but because it was dull, some of the stab wounds, it was said, were quite, they wouldn't have been so forceful. So it was said that would have been Nicole doing those stab wounds. So they, in a final act of humiliation, they made a strip. They made a strip at this train track so they could stab her easier. Eventually, she was stabbed 21 times. It was said 15 times by Nicole and 6 by Danny. And then when she was dying, they lay her across the train tracks. And then they walked home and threw the knife in a canal and went back. Started celebrating with Sherry and Zach and the rest of them. All found it great. Then they came up with what they were going to say when eventually she was found. Apparently, because, yeah, they're racist as well. Miss that bit, eh? They were determined to blame this on some imaginary black man. You hear them saying it. You hear them saying it in the documentary. Yeah, it was she had a black boyfriend. That's who did it to her. That's who did it. So yeah, just a real kicker. And they were all celebrating, saying how she was going to be turned into hamburger meat. She was going to be hamburger meat. This poor girl. And all I kept on thinking when they were doing this celebration high fives was, where was little Willardine? Where was this little baby? Just awful. Vera, because she'd been laid over the train tracks, she actually managed to huddle herself into the fetal position in the middle of the train track. Obviously, she's naked, she's freezing, and she's huddled into the middle. It said that maybe she was hoping that the train would go over her, but it didn't see her in time. And by the time the train conductor saw her, he says he thought it was a deer, but it was too late and he went over. We don't know if she was already dead by then. But he stopped the train, obviously there and then. And when they looked underneath, they seen it was a human being, not a deer. So when this happened, it was the early hours, so it had gone into March 27th of 2011. And when they got her out from under the train, they found a note in her purple. Sorry, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They'd stripped her. I don't know why I've said that. Her clothes were nearby. They hadn't even tried to hide them. They didn't even pick them up. Remember I said they made a strip. In her purple hoodie, purple being her favourite colour, they found a note. And it was to little Willardine. And it basically says, "I love you, Willardine. You're a good little baby. I am glad to be your mummy. I'm glad I had you at 4:16 a.m. on the 4th of November 2009. Mummy loves you." Just heartbreaking. It was said that she knew what they were going to do to her, and that's why she'd written that note and hidden it in her pocket. She knew. Awful. This, you think this is bad? I haven't got much left. This, give me a second. You're going to realise why I'm getting rolled up again. Someone had to ID Vera. Sherry goes to ID her. She's not related to her at all. But she goes to ID her. Do you know why? Because she said that Vera's parents are dead. And I heard that apparently it was the 3rd time she'd said it over the years that Vera's parents were actually dead. So she got to ID her. Very quickly, the police started checking CCTV. These were not only animals, depraved, some of them paedophiles, just the bottom of the barrel. They were also thick as shite. I'm sorry, they were. They were saw on CCTV that was on a building opposite. They had like a soup kitchen opposite. They were seen on CCTV leaving with Vera. Danny, Nicole and Vera leaving. And then Danny and Nicole coming back without Vera. It was very obvious, very quickly who'd done it. Danny confesses very, very quickly. Then Nicole does, but Nicole, she's got nothing to lose. She throws them all under the bus and she goes, listen, yes, it was me, but everyone planned it. Shannon planned it. Zach planned it. Me, Danny. Who else did she throw under the bus? I think Michael, Shannon, Garth. She threw everyone under. She was taking them all down with her. So we get to the sentencing in March of 2012. This is why I said I'm annoyed, because I always praise the American justice system. Always do. Danny got 40 years for murder. Nicole got 23 years. For some reason, hers was conspiracy to murder. It was proven by the stab wounds that it had to have been from someone who didn't have the same strength as the other person. It was quite obvious it was two people. She got conspiracy to murder. She got 23 years. Sherry got 5 years probation. She got 5 years probation and 30 days in prison that she'd already done the time. She'd already done. She got that for obstruction of justice. I'm sorry, I am just so angry at this case. Zach, daddy of Willardine, he got 4 year for obstruction of justice, but also he got 4 years because he'd done a robbery as well. So it was mainly for that. That he got time for. And you might be thinking, where's the baby? Well, Willardine at this point was 16 months old. She was removed from the home a week after Vera was murdered. Zach lost his parental rights because Sherry, don't forget, this was her plan all along. This was her plan. She'd stop Zach and Scotty leaving the house that night. She was happy for Danny and Nicole to take the blame for this. They'd done what she wanted. She wanted Vera gone. She wanted to keep Willardine as her own. And she was happy for them to take the blame. She was really happy for that, and she keeps her boys intact. She thought she had it all sewn up, but she didn't. She didn't really bank on Zach himself. And Zach, well, he was supposed to go for his parental rights, and social services brought him in to have visitation with Willardine. He only made it once because Willardine screamed bloody murder when he walked in the door. And I just thought, wow, look, your mum would be so proud of you, because she wanted nothing to. She was only 16 months old, but she wanted nothing to do with this man. And he didn't bother again. He was like, wow, she didn't want to know me. So Sherry's plan, just all of that, this whole build-up from beginning to end, and it was for nothing, because Willardine got taken away. She was fostered, and she was actually adopted by the family that fostered her. And the little note that Vera had left in her coat, knowing what was about to happen to her, has actually been given to the adoptive family, and it'll be their decision to give it to Willardine when she's old enough to process it and to realise that her mum really did love her. It's just very, very sad. Sherry herself, there's interviews of her going, I miss her. The tears are horrific. If you want to have a look, now I'm nearly done. You want to go away and look at the documentary, you will see why I've been so scathing. I mean, now we're at the end, you realise why I'm being so scathing, but why I've been so insulting about this family. I genuinely, the Hills Have Eyes will come to you straight away, honestly. You know, it could be another one of those films, but that just came to me. So she was crying. I miss her. I actually wrote down in my notes, dickhead. That's what I actually wrote. She actually does go on to get 40 months in prison for drug trafficking. So she was living up to a sugar babe name for that reason as well. Because, yeah, Sherry actually saw herself as a Crip member as well. Not thinking they'd actually have her as part of their group. I think even a gang with the reputation of the Crips would draw a line at that animal. Just saying. Scotty, he came forward and said Sherry should have gone to prison for what she did. Like I said, the documentary itself is called Goodbye Sugar Babe. There was a group out there who were just, because people had tried to phone the police. Remember I said the police were constantly going round to the house. People had tried to help Vera, but she was so conditioned at that point. She wouldn't tell the police, and Sherry was always there when the police were talking to her. It was just a very frustrating situation. That group who, you know, are pushing for more time, even now for this family, are called Voices for Vera. And Sherry herself was actually released from prison after the so-called 40 months that she didn't do in January 2019. And that, I know it's a long one, but that was, the awful, 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 cruel story of Vera Jo Reigle. Just awful, awful story. Absolutely horrific. Yes, Warwick, yeah, you can abuse her. I mean, this woman, child after child after child after child, abusing them, like sexually and physically abusing her kids. 5 of them got taken. And she goes on to have 4 more, and they get left with her. And then she's allowed to bring in young girls into her home to try and get them pregnant so she can take their children, so she can claim another daughter. Absolute vile. You know, and I know I'm probably reaching here, but remember I said Big Chuck, daddy of the year, who came back on the scene. Don't know what happened to little baby Maria. Was it for him? Was she trying to get another little girl for him? I don't know. I'm reaching there, but I can't get my head round this entire family. The only one who appeared at the very end to have anything about him, I'd still look at him like a disgrace. He was in that home, but was Scotty, her eldest boy, who had been brought up by his grandmother. It's the only one. And yeah, he doesn't get a pass by any means. He was the only one who seemed to have anything about him. Oh, thank you, Phil. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really hard story to tell. There's a lot of names as well. And, you know, I obviously the pictures aren't coming up. So it is very, very hard to follow a story when you haven't. Thank you, Hayley. It is really hard. And when you haven't got the pictures from your point of view, when you haven't got the pictures, I suppose names start to go into themselves. So I did try and recap them as best as I could. So I understand. But if you do want to go away and have a look at the documentary, honestly, it's, yeah. You'll see exactly why I've had the opinion I've had. Thank you, Warwick. Thank you. Just horrific. Just horrific. Awful story. Awful story. But thank you all. Look at the time. That was a long one. Thank you all for sticking with us. And on another subject, what's been going on in the comments? I've seen a lot of deletions, and I did notice an Evan back. Is he still here? Did we keep him this time? I'm just curious. I had to focus. I couldn't follow what was going on. But what happened there? I did notice that. I noticed Warwick jumped in, and then my moderator, my peacock, I believe, went in. But what happened? What was going on? I seen Ashley. Ashley, has he gone? This is why we need some friendly banter to keep us going. We do, and we need our jingle too, Phil. That's what we need. But what happens? What I noticed you'd got it's all gone, but I was just curious. Like, was there double whammy? Both, two went. Stop. I thought one of them was okay. Was it that bad? Ooh, yous are all great, aren't you? Could you imagine if I was having trouble? Ashley is as well. Are you sure? Oh, no. I thought she was okay. No, was she? Oh, that's disappointing. Ashley's Ariane. Stop it. Oh, wow, she got me. Wow, she got me. Is that how? Okay, Ariane, if you're watching, if you can hear me, if you are watching after the fact, you've got to stop, sweet. You've got to. If you want to take part on this live, you are welcome. I don't know if you're Evan as well. I don't know if Evan's now. I don't know if you're all of them. You are welcome to take part on these lives and be in the comments, but you can't behave like that. It's just not going to happen. It can't be nice getting bounced every time you're in here. That can't be a nice feeling. You've got to stop. You have to. These are very, very serious, stories. I put a lot of time into them, and you're really not helping. You're not. Watch them afterwards, but stop trying to roll people in the comments. It doesn't work. Tiff now is Jesus, in case you hadn't realised. Peacock is Jesus, is Tiffany, is moderator. She's all of the above, and she's the all-seeing eye. Followed by Warwick very quickly, and Phil, and then Kelly, and Natalie. They're all there, and they're not going to agree with you acting like a plonker. So if you are watching, look, you're welcome back. Just stop being a plonker. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? I'm just shocked. I thought we were done. I thought we'd moved on from all of that. But never mind. Suppose it makes the evening more interesting, eh? Suppose it just picks it up a little bit. But I genuinely thought, oh, we got a new one, and Ashley, she got me. She definitely got me. God, Warwick, you were on the ball. Definitely on the ball. But anyway, what can we do? Who's the virgin? Oh, that's Tiffany. No, she's Jesus. She's Jesus, that one. She's Jesus. That's who she's claiming herself. Oh, thanks, Hayley. Yeah, you can't. No, we're not here for that. I seen the banjo comment. I just thought, because do you know what it was? I'd heard this family. Oh, hi Charlotte, how you doing? Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Watch tomorrow. It's a long one. But I'd heard someone mention deliverance, not in this. I'd heard it elsewhere. So I heard the banjo. I seen the banjo comment very quickly out the corner of my eye. But I just connected it with that because I'd just been on about the family being the Hills Have Eyes. So I just thought it was all a bit of a banter in there. Oh, she's still doing. Oh my God. Come on. All I can think, Ariane, I'll be honest. From my point of view, I've got you as being very, very young, really young. Now, I don't know if you're too young to even be on YouTube. And if you are, maybe this isn't the channel for you. I know there's a YouTube Kids out there. If you are older than that, maybe, maybe this isn't the channel for you. I'm just saying, if you can behave yourself, you're more than welcome back. Honestly, that's all I'm gonna say on it now. That's it. Okay, right. If you're watching tomorrow, yes, please join us on the lives. There's always something. Join my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Jess Rose 5472. I know, I was being pedantic. That's all I was doing. I'm just being horrible. Jess Rose, patreon.com/Jess Rose 5472. It's not like you, Warwick, to pick up on the sarcasm. It's not like you. You normally pick up on it. Or join us on a Tuesday or a Thursday. We're here at 8 o'clock. Tuesdays are request night. Thursdays is my story. I do try and do ones that people haven't heard of. I've failed. I keep failing, but I'm yet to do it. I'm going to do it. If you have any requests, if you're on the live, you get first dibs, Patreon second dibs, and then, if you do want to put it in the comments and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. So, comment, and subscribe, guys. Comment, and subscribe, guys. That's what I'd ask you to do. But my one says I'll message you. Okay. I don't know what that was. But are we all okay, though? Are we all okay? Because I still appreciate you're all still here. It's been an hour and a half. I'm so sorry it's so long, but I wanted to get everything to you. And if I missed things, it wouldn't have made sense. So that's why it's gone. Thank you, Warwick. Thank you, Warwick, and Tiffany, my little peacock, and Phil. And has Kelly been here tonight? I know, I've seen Hayley, I've seen Natalie. I haven't seen Kelly. Sharon, bless her. Charlotte, I've just seen. So I'm glad you've all been okay, and I really appreciate you all sticking around. I know it's a long one. Go and watch that. Story's quite similar to the Shakira Spencer was. It was. It's that sort of disability mate crime thing that's going on, which is, thank you, Charlotte. Yeah. Was mumming, was she? I didn't say was mumming when it was all going off, because I'm surprised. She'd have loved a bit of that. Thanks. I'm glad you're okay, Phil. No, I'm glad everyone's okay. I don't want anyone getting upset. No, I know you're all thicker skin than that, but I just don't want anyone getting, thinking, oh God, this is pointless because there's just going to be trolls in here every time. And I'd hate that. That's why I've said that, because it's not fair. Not when people are taking time out their evenings. It's not on. My mum, no, she wasn't listening. Are you on about my mum? Yeah, no, she doesn't put sound on. She doesn't. She's terrible. She prayed, for kicking you out. Kicking him out, did she? Yes. So she would have. I wonder how long she stayed, 'cause she loves a bit of the drama. But no, she wouldn't have been listening to me. She doesn't. She comes in, she has a check out, she loves to say hello to you all, and then off she goes. She actually thought it was me that had grassed her to you all as well. And I was like, no, it wasn't me, it was Courtney. I didn't actually say it was Courtney who said it. So, I got the blame for that earlier. But, okay, it's so late now. I really appreciate you all saying, can you do me a really big favour? I'm running out of requests. So if you have any, please let me know. Please drop it in the comments. After this, when the story's up, drop it in there. I'll have a look for next Tuesday. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with another one of mine, I'm afraid. So, And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. thank you all for joining me again. And like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Look, comment, and oh, not the. That was, I got a bit, all right, there was a bit feisty there. That was a bit much, that was. I actually hit the screen then. But look, comment and subscribe, guys. And thank you all so much. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you next week for Request Live Tuesday. Oh, that's what Request Live Tuesday. That's what we're calling it. See you all soon. Have a lovely weekend. Take care, everyone. Try not to get my finger on the screen. I'm shaking the screen. I'm still here. Look, comment, subscribe, guys.